Welcome back to BVarsity Live, everybody. Zach Ewing, Trevor Horn with you, downtown Bakersfield. Before we dig into state wrestling brackets, the last thing we want to do here, spring sports have started. We're almost done with winter sports. After this weekend, we'll have some state basketball games left, and that'll be it for winter sports. And then, of course, our all-area teams, which are coming out the final weekend of March / beginning of April.
I hope.
Yeah, April 1st and 2nd. So look forward for the. What do you mean you hope? I'm going to hold you to it. And now we've said it on the air. But spring sports have begun, including baseball, the Therapy tournament, always kind of the first big tournament for local teams. Championship game Saturday night at Sam Lynn Ballpark. Yes, they still play baseball there. I don't know what condition the field's in. That'd be an interesting thing to find out. But at 6 p.m. tomorrow night, the two teams you might expect would be in a baseball championship, Stockdale and Centennial, the two baseball teams with the best history of success over the last 30 years in Kern County. So Stockdale, I think, safe to say they'll throw Sean Mullen in that game?
I don't know. I haven't.
Depends on what he's...
He hasn't pitched this week, and he pitched last Friday.
I'm guessing he's probably the guy. Yeah,
he's probably the guy.
You'd want to save your ace for that game, and then Centennial, very good team as well. So they will be lined up, ready to go with Stockdale in that championship game. Kind of could be a preview of what might be the top two contenders for the SWYL race.
Yeah,
could be. Don't want to shortchange
Liberty's going to
be
in there.
Liberty will be in there.
Garces will fight.
Frontier seems down a little.
Down. BHS will be right in there. They got a new head coach, so we'll see.
But Stockdale and Centennial go in as the favorites.
BHS, they're good. Good young arms. They could hit, so we'll see. But, yeah, I think right now, when you look at it in baseball and softball, Stockdale, the cream of the crop in both. Yeah. The baseball team won 20 games last year. Softball team went to the semifinals in D1 at Buchanan, and they returned the entire lineup except for their ace, Valencia. So it'll be McKenna Valencia. So, they bring back a lot. They've got 6 scholarship players on roster.
So on to wrestling. The boys wrestling state championships for the 13th consecutive year here in Bakersfield. And I'm not going to go through every single local kid or anything like that because it's just there's 31 of them, and frankly, we just don't have the time for it. But that's fine. We will cover them all weekend long. I do want to highlight a few. First of all, just kind of an overarching view of state. The biggest story, period, end of story this year is Justin Mejia.
Yep.
The Clovis senior, 126 pounds, who is seeking to become the second 4-time champion in California history. Only the second one ever, and that would be a tremendous accomplishment. A lot of guys have come close to it before. The only guy who's ever been able to do it, winning freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years, is Daryl Vasquez of Bakersfield High between 1999 and 2002. And this has been going on, the state wrestling, since the 70s. So we're talking 40 years now, more than 40 years. I think 1974 was the first one. More than 40 years of state wrestling. It's happened once. Justin Mejia can become the second one. His weight class, however, is absolutely loaded. It is loaded.
So loaded that Jaden Abbas is the number 4 seed.
Jaden Abbas, who met Justin Mejia for the 120-pound championship last year.
On the same side of the bracket.
From Frontier, now wrestles for Rancho Bernardo after moving to San Diego. He's on the same side of the bracket as Mejia. On the other half of the bracket, you've got Isaiah Perez of Dinuba and Robert Garcia of Selma. And all Isaiah Perez did is take Justin Mejia to an ultimate tiebreaker triple overtime in the semifinals of the Masters. And then Robert Garcia gave him a good fight in the final of the Masters. So Mejia's beat all these guys before. But that doesn't mean on the big stage it's going to be easy to do again. So that's the number one.
And it's so, and Mejia has got one of those kind of histories as a state wrestler where you love him or you hate him, and it's sad to see that at the high school level, but he kind of brings that bravado on himself.
He does have a little bit of that bravado.
Yeah.
And he gets people just root for the underdog. He gets booed and things. Doesn't deserve that.
No, he's still a high school kid.
Just imagine the pressure facing Justin Mejia this weekend. He can deal with pressure better than most of any of us, but he's never faced anything like he'll face this weekend. We saw it. Alex Cisneros of Selma, a terrific career, was about to become a 4-time state champion, lost it in the final 15 seconds. Could that happen again? Well, maybe not that dramatic.
Didn't you say that was one of the most heartbreaking things you've ever seen?
It was one of the more stunning things I've ever seen in sports. I just sat there flabbergasted for a good 60 seconds before I could even function again. So could we see something like that again? Justin Mejia hopes not. Also of Clovis, Seth Nevels, their heavyweight. He's undefeated in his career. He has lost one match in his high school career. Seth Nevels is only a junior. He's never lost. He's looking for, and he is an overwhelming favorite to win a third straight title at heavy for the second straight time at heavyweight. First one was at 220. So he's the other big guy in the bracket. And then of the other 12 weight classes, the number one seed, the state wrestling tournament seeded for the first time this year in a long time. The number one seed in 6 of the other 12 brackets is from Buchanan. Not all of them Not all of them are dominating number one seeds that are definitely going to win, but they are expected to win in 6 of the other 12, which leads to sort of the numbers that you sort of uncovered earlier today.
Yeah, and you look at it. So this is the 14th year that the state wrestling has been at Rabobank Arena. Of those 13 previous team titles, 10 have been won by those 3 schools: Clovis, Buchanan, or Bakersfield. That's incredible. The other two by Poway, 1 by Vacaville. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That 77% of the team titles have gone to 3 schools in the state of California. When you look at the individual levels, 14 weight classes, 13 years, it's 182 individual titles. Clovis has won 18 tops. BHS, 10 individual champs in the last 13 years. Number 2, Buchanan, tied in 3rd place with Gilroy with 9. That's incredible. In total, 13 different high schools in the central section have had an individual state champ. 56 total. 56 of the 182 individual state champs over the last 13 years in wrestling at the state level, the CIF, have come from the central section.
Yep.
That's 30.7%. What's even more extraordinary, 20% of that has come from Clovis, BHS, or Buchanan, individual state champs.
So 3 schools have won 20%
3 schools
of the
have
individual
won
titles.
1/5 with how many high schools? Do you say 1,588?
It's kind of like the NBA was for a long time, where I want to say between 1990 and like 2000 and whenever.
Yeah, it was Boston, L.A., Detroit, Chicago.
Well, you're going back
San
to the 80s
Antonio.
if you're including Detroit. I'm not even taking. Well, they did win one in 2003, I think, or 2004. But it was, I mean, for a while there, you didn't even have to include Detroit. It was the Lakers, the Spurs, the Bulls,
Houston for 2
or
years.
Houston, yeah. And
The 2 years that Jordan was playing minor league baseball.
you could get through about 15, 16 years just with those 4 teams. And if you include Poway, obviously that's 12 of 13. And I think if you go back before that, 03 was Poway, 02 was Bakersfield. So even going back to the Modesto years of the state title, you could go back that far. So while we have a couple of minutes left, let's go over the locals expected to make the most noise. 106 pounds, Cole Reyes of Frontier. He's the Central Section champ. He's the number 5 seed. So he's expected to get to the podium. Eddie Flores of Northview, number 1, and Antonio Lorenzo of Del Oro, number 2. They're both undefeated.
Let's get into this. We were talking about it with Roger and Ron about, divisions in wrestling. The great thing about wrestling at the state level, you're a champ if you get to the podium at the end of the night on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to the podium, if you're top 7, top 8, what is it, top 8?
Top 8.
Top 8. If you're getting on that podium, like you said, I mean, you're as good as it gets in the United States.
It's something really special. And we got to move on, but another point real quick. Northview, Eddie Flores is number 1 there. Del Oro, Antonio Lorenzo is number 2. What if you had a situation where you had 6 divisions and Northview was D2 and Del Oro was D3 or D1 and D2 or whatever? These 2 kids are undefeated. If they stay undefeated, they're going to wrestle for a state championship in front of everybody. That's going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you're going to take that away?
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, CIF. Don't do that, Roger Blake.
We get enough wrestling at the divisionals, at the
That's right.
Masters.
At 113 pounds, Elijah Navarro of BHS and Jose Landon of Wasco are the only 2 locals, neither expected to do a whole lot. Your number 1 seed there is Matthew Olguin of Buchanan. He's one of the defending champions. He won it at 106 last year. 120, Ethan Leake of Buchanan, another number 1 seed who's a Bear. They're the team favorite. Another defending champion. He won it at 113 last year. Probably your number 1 contender from Kern County there will be Ryan Morphus of Frontier. He was 3rd in the we had him on the show last week. He was 3rd in the section at the Masters. The nephew of Kirk Moore, by the way, which I didn't know until Tuesday. At 126 pounds, we talked about this one. Justin Mejia is number 1, but
He wasn't on the show.
boy, he's got
That was
Right.
Trent
Ryan.
Tracy.
Yeah, Trent Tracy was on the show. Ryan wasn't on the show.
He was making weight.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Justin Mejia, number 1 at 126. We talked about the other contenders here, but just from an overarching perspective, Trevor, 126 pounds, 9 returning state medalists at this weight, which means even if all of them perform to their capabilities, one of them isn't going to medal because there's only 8 medals. So one of them is Isaac Olenek of BHS. He did not get a seed. In fact, he's got to face Southern Section champion Elijah Palacio, who's number 11 out of Calvary Chapel in this first-round match, so look out for that one. 132 pounds, Chris DeLoza of Clovis North is number 1. Elijah Ozuna of Frontier is number 4, so he'll have a chance for a medal. At 138 pounds, number 1 is Jaden Enriquez of Mission Oak. JJ Figueroa of BHS is number 3. At 145 pounds, number 1, Navante Demison.
Who?
Yeah, who has dominated every match he's wrestled this year. Number 2 is Jacob Wright of Dinuba, who wrestled him in the finals last year and should have wrestled him in the section finals last week, but he got sick, had to default, so we'll get to see it this weekend if those seeds hold. 152 pounds, number 1 seed is Quentin Hovis of Poway, who could be a 4-time state champion himself, just that the first 3 were in Arizona. So he's into California now, and he is the number 1 seed. In fact, he's number 1 in the nation, in fact, at 152 pounds. We may go over, Chris, just a couple of minutes. Jonathan Garcia of Frontier is number 7 at 152. 160 pounds, your number 1, Joel Romero of Buchanan. Number 2 is Brandon Martino of Clovis. Those two are 2 and 2 against each other, so kind of call that 1A and 1B. Number 7 in that bracket, Ricky Gonzalez of BHS. 170 pounds, Anthony Mantanona of Palm Desert. Boy, this guy's fun to watch. He pinned every opponent in less than a minute on his way to the finals last year and then lost in the finals. So he's back to kind of right that wrong this year. He's the number 1 seed. One of his first matches in the quarterfinals.
Licking his chops.
Yes. Tomorrow night could be Jeremy Moss of Liberty. He's the number 9 seed. So if he gets through the number 8 seed, Isaiah Perez of Pittman, he would probably face Mantanona in the quarters tomorrow night. 182 pounds, your number 1 seed is Anthony Montalvo of Buchanan. He has been dominant. The number 3 seed is Sam Loera of BHS, and the number 10 seed, Willem DeBoer of Frontier. But both of those guys have lost multiple times to Montalvo, so not going to be easy for them to win a title. Number 1 seed at 195 pounds is Chasen Blair of Rancho Bernardo. That's Jaden Abbas' new school. Adrian Godinez of Foothills, the number 8 seed. He's been battling injuries, but if the guy is healthy, he was a state placer last year.
So much fun to watch.
Yeah, he came in as number 3 in the state last year. He could face Chasen Blair in the quarters. So if Adrian Godinez is close to 100%, that's a quarterfinal to watch for sure. 220 pounds, your number 1 seed, Cade Belshea of Buchanan. Only local in the bracket is Ricardo Garcia of Highland. And at heavyweight, we mentioned him number 1. Number 2 in the nation, number 1 seed here, Seth Nevels of Clovis, and the only local in the bracket, Brett Schuler of Bakersfield Christian, who's also been on BVarsity Live for football.
Yeah, when we were on location. That was fun.
Right. So anyway, good show today, big show today. Our thanks to Ron Nichetti and Roger Blake of the CIF. Our producer is Chris McCullough. You're Trevor Horn.
You got your live blog starting tomorrow. I've got my live blog starting tomorrow. We're good to go. Everything you need on BigSoul.com and always in the Californian every morning.
Absolutely. We are your prep sports leader in Kern County, BVarsity Live. Until next week, check out the live blogs on Bakersfield.com and all of our coverage in the Californian. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Looking deep down the left side, Mendeville into the end zone, touchdown!